Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going to be shedding light on what has caused the Great Resignation. So what has precipitated the onset of the Great Resignation? What can the Great Resignation be attributed to? Well, there are a multitude of causes behind the Great Resignation. People are discontent with sustaining working their real private sector jobs based on voluntary demand for a multitude of reasons. They are adamant about pivoting out of the real private sector workforce. Real private sector jobs based on voluntary demand are often deemed highly time-consuming, dead-end, minimum wage, dispiriting, unfulfilling, undesirable, harrowing, distressful, brutally wretched, ineffably agonizing jobs that do not pay anywhere close to even 1/4 of a subsistence wage. Real private sector jobs based on voluntary demand often induce chronic burnout, chronic fatigue, chronic stress, and of course chronic inflammation. Furthermore, working real private sector jobs based on voluntary demand is apt to amplify your mortality rate and severely undermine your quality of life. Real private sector jobs based on voluntary demand adversely impinge on every facet of your life. Lamentably, if you work a real private sector job based on voluntary demand, as an employee, it is inapt to even yield you 1/12 of a livable wage. A livable wage in the digital era is at least a mean net wage of $122 per hour. If you were to earn $122 per hour over the course of 2 decades or 20 years or 41,600 hours in the workforce, you'd be able to invest $3,600,000 in the equities market, in equities that bear 2% dividend yields, so that after 2 decades elapsed, after 20 years elapsed, after working full-time for 1/5 of a century, you'd be able to retire with receiving $6,000 in dividend payouts every month, or $72,000 in dividend payouts annually. However, since real private sector jobs based on voluntary demand do not even pay 1/12 of a livable wage, there's no basis for even having a future. So people want to attain a higher standard of living. They're exhausted, they're burnt out, they're chronically stressed out, they're chronically fatigued, their health is severely compromised, and they want to be able to indulge in experiencing the accoutrements of the high life. They want to be able to live their lives and not live to work, per se. So, people are deterred from working. They're disincentivized to work. If you work a real private sector job based on voluntary demand, you're eviscerated out of your hard-earned money in this controlled market economy, and your hard-earned money is transferred to subsidize amenities, luxuries, unlimited money, and unlimited benefits of welfare aristocrats. People are enticed to become welfare aristocrats, and people are incentivized to become welfare aristocrats. If you become a welfare aristocrat, you're able to receive unlimited money in tandem with unlimited benefits by refusing to work in any capacity. So, the tantalizing prospect of becoming a welfare aristocrat so that you can receive unlimited money in tandem with unlimited benefits has been a major driving factor behind the Great Resignation transpiring. The irony is that people who become welfare aristocrats and who refuse to work in any capacity have a higher standard of living than people who work full-time in the real private sector workforce. People who work real private sector jobs based on voluntary demand cannot even afford to attain their utmost lowest level needs, relegated to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. On the other hand, people who are welfare aristocrats who refuse to work in any capacity have all the amenities, have all the luxuries, have all the accoutrements of the high life, and they also have unlimited money and unlimited benefits, even though they do not make any contributions to the world. They're able to partake in basking in stress-alleviating activities all day. They're able to experience the utmost highest standard of living because they can attain their high standard of living without working in any capacity to maintain it. So, because real private sector jobs are ineffably stress-inducing, unbearable, harrowing, and brutally wretched in every facet, people are pivoting out of the real private sector workforce and are becoming welfare aristocrats. They are incentivized to quit their dead-end jobs so that they could attain a higher standard of living by becoming a welfare aristocrat. At this juncture, the unemployment rate hovers between 90 to 95%, with such an infinitesimal amount of the population working real private sector jobs based on voluntary demand. However, in the future, post the Great Resignation elapsing, it will amplify anywhere between 97 to 98% as a result of even fewer people being willing to work real private sector jobs based on voluntary demand. There are a copious amount of people who work boondoggles jobs, but they should not be considered employed because those jobs will never exist in a free market economy. Those jobs do not exist based on voluntary demand, and the salaries, the pensions, the benefits, the amenities, the luxuries, the vacations are subsidized by people who work real private sector jobs based on voluntary demand. People who work real private sector jobs based on voluntary demand often have the utmost lowest standard of living, whereas the welfare aristocrats who refuse to work in any capacity often have the utmost highest standard of living. That's a paradox, and it's unequivocally ironical to say the least, because in the real world, unfortunately, hard work is futile, nugatory, and unavailing, and does not pay off. It redounds to your advantage because it redounds to your disadvantage. You wind up expending so much mental bandwidth, so many calories, so much time, and so much effort, and then, meanwhile, you can't even make the minimum payments on your bills and put yourself in the muck and mire and get out of debt. Whereas if you were to become a welfare aristocrat, all your wants and needs and desires would be instantaneously met in perpetuity. So, people are inclined to pivot out of the real private sector workforce because it provides no basis for a future. It decimates their house, and they could have a much higher standard of living by becoming welfare aristocrats. People are lackadaisical. They prefer not to work, and if they have the opportunity to abstain from working and desist from working, they'll avail themselves of that opportunity. Thanks for watching. Have a blissful day. Goodbye.